Hello and welcome to the original or the innovative tactical knife on the edge. Okay, so maybe it's not really either. I'm going with the name here, people. It is the CRKT Avant-Tac. And well, what does Avant mean? Well, it does mean original or innovative. So this the third now Eric Ochs designed knife that I've had on the channel. All of those from CRKT. So Eric Ochs of Ochs Design, hails out of Sherwood, Oregon. I speak more about him in the other reviews, the other videos that I've looked at his knives, so please go and check those out. And those were the what were they? The Shahalem and the Avant. And like both of those knives, both of those knives now in my collection, and a few other knives that I've seen of his on CRKT that are also pretty good looking. Would like to get my hands on those, and those two, the Trask and the Terrestrial, I would like to have a good look at those. Probably my least favorite of the CRKT designs that I've seen is the APOC, but that is just my opinion. That is subjective. Right, guys, so I'm going to be doing the usual materials, dimensions, and weight, and then dive into design and attributes of this knife. So again, a CRKT budget knife. So we've got the budget steel, 8CR13 MOV in this case. The handle is G10 with stainless steel, big beefy stainless steel liners, stainless steel backspacer, and all the rest of the hardware, pretty much stainless steel. So the clip, the screws, and the pivot cap. And then the pivot assembly makes use of ball bearings, the IKBS ball bearings. You can see that little mark on the blade just below the thumb hole. And once again, unfortunately, as we see so often on CRKT knives, it also has Teflon washers in there. Right, dimensions and weight. We've got a blade length of 92.15 millimeters, and that is 3.63 inches. Blade thickness is 3.48 millimeters, and that is 0.14. That is inches. And I'm eyeing and eyeing again because I see that I haven't put handle thickness in here. So let me quickly, fortunately, the caliper is on my desk, so let's quickly have a look at that. Right, let's get that into millimeters and have a quick look. Handle thickness is 15.4 millimeters, and that is 0.6 inches. Right, there we go. And what did I say was the blade thickness? 3.48 mils and 0.14 inches. All right, cool. So we've done blade thickness, handle thickness. Close length is 121.69 millimeters, and that's 4.79 inches. And then overall length of the knife is 214.33 millimeters, and that is 8.44 inches. Right. What next? Weight. So, as per usual, I have a stated weight. So, in this case, the stated weight from CRKT, and I will check that on my scale, as I always do. Let's kind of get that lined up. Satisfy the OCD side. Is that lined up? Yeah. Okay. Let's get going. What are we on? We're on grams, and that is 169. So I get a little bit heavier than they say. They say 167.3 grams, and that in ounces, 5.9 ounces, and I get 6. So a little bit heavier than what they say, but as you can see, quite a heavy knife, this beefy sort of construction, and it does feel pretty heavy in hand. So basically what we have here, I mentioned one of the other knives that I reviewed of Eric Ochs, the other CRKT, is the Avant, the CRKT Avant. And basically what this is the Avant-Tac, is the tactical, more utilitarian version of the Avant. So there we go. Review done, and thanks for joining me. Okay, it's not identical. So let me pull that knife on here and put that next to it. So There is, let's do it that way around. There is the Avant or Avant, however you want to pronounce that, and the Avant-Tac. And you can see that those two knives are very, very similar to each other, especially if you look at handle shape. That outline of the handle, that almost sort of pommel that's created in the back, that general shape where your fingers go, the drop to the handle, and that shape towards the blade. That is pretty much identical between those two knives. The biggest difference is coming in the blade shape, where we've got a little more shaping on the spine and the drop, a bit more of a thumb ramp. And of course, the big thumb hole where the Avant had the thumb disc to deploy the blade. So there we go, a little bit of a sense of those. And you can see the Avant-Tac is a bigger knife as well, a little bit thicker and also heavier than the Avant. Right, so I'll get that out the way and then bring that back in maybe when we do size comparisons. Right, so let's start. Let's get back to that and look at that blade. So drop point blade, satin finish. And see a little bit of a corner there, so quite a distinctive drop shape to the blade. Hollow grind, that very, very neatly done. The edge, by the way, on this blade also very neatly done and nicely sharp out of the box. Big sharpening choil, come forward finger choil, and I'll show you that when I get my hands around the knife. And then the spine, you can see the little rise to the spine creates the thumb ramp, and then we've got the jimping on that thumb ramp. The thumb hole, I mentioned that just now, neat little beveled edge around that as well. And the flipper, so you can see the flipper and the thumb. So once again, that hints at ways of deploying this blade. Right, let's get that closed and look at that flipper. Big flipper, sticks out quite far, and we've got the little bit of jimping on that flipper. Let's get some light on that as well. And that obviously, almost took my finger out there. Did I draw blood? No, I didn't. Great, so it's not going to be one of those shows. That flipper obviously creates that finger guard as well. Markings on the blade, we've got Avant-Tac and the Ochs design. I mentioned the IKBS logo on the blade as well. And on the other side, as per usual with the CRKT knife, we've got the CRKT logo. Right, general shape, I spoke a little bit about that, very, very similar to the Avant knife. That in hand, big knife this. So you can see my medium-sized hands. I wear a large glove. What that looks like, my four fingers wrap neatly into that portion of the handle. And then we've got that sort of pommel type section at the back that still sticks out. So bigger hands, you are going to get easily onto this knife. Your little finger will probably fit onto that little platform at the back there. Choking up on the knife, I said that that forward finger choil is big enough to comfortably choke up onto the blade, and that's what that looks like. And either way that you grab this knife, your thumb very naturally and comfortably falls onto that little ramp of the blade with that jimping, and you can see the jimping actually continues onto the spine of the handle as well. So that's what that looks like choking up, and that's what that looks like when you get your hand completely onto the handle. Ergo's generally on the knife really good. So the construction of that handle, we've got the G10 scales, and you can see that those are nicely textured, so that gives you good grip on that handle. And we've got these three lines, I suppose, just for aesthetics that have been milled into that G10, and that done on both sides. And then we've got these really, I mentioned when we were talking about materials, beefy stainless steel liners. Those really are pretty thick, and it does add considerable weight to this knife. Backspacer, we've got a neatly done jimped backspacer, and then the finish on those liners and the backspacer is sort of a black stonewash to this, and I suppose that just adds a little bit to that tactical look and feel of the knife. What probably doesn't contribute to the tactical look is the extra little bit of detail that is done around that pivot cap. So that is neat, but perhaps not totally in keeping with the tactical, supposed tactical nature of the knife. Those stainless steel liners, there is a little bit of a milling done on the inside. Get some reflection in there. You can see some stainless steel has been removed on the inside to reduce the weight of this considerably weighty knife, but it still does remain pretty heavy, the knife in general. Right, what have I not spoken about? The pocket clip. So we've got tip up, right hand only, which is a bit surprising because it doesn't seem like it would have been a very difficult thing to make that reversible. I can't recall. Yeah, and that's quite interesting. So let's just bring the Avant back on here. So this is the tactical version. The pocket clip is not reversible. And then on the Avant, the sort of non-tactical version, it is. So that sort of seems counterintuitive. But there we go. That's how they've decided to do it. I mentioned tip up, right hand only. It is one of those wraparound pocket clips mounted pretty high on the knife. So relatively deep carry. You're going to see a little bit of the knife sticking out of the top space in the back of that clip. Yeah, okay-ish, I guess, and nice sort of springy skeletonized clip as well. Right, what else? What have I not spoken about? So the shaping to that handle, I mentioned the ergos. That does feel good in hand. You get nice grip on that handle and no hot spots. So all good there. What else? So from a styling perspective, I suppose what I didn't mention is we've got that G10 with that beveled edge around it, but you can see that little bit of a step down effect. So the liner does stick out quite far from the G10. So it's proud of that G10, and that liner also nicely rounded. So that adds to the ergos as well. Action on the knife, really good, and I suppose that's what you can expect when you're running on IKBS and you have the Teflon washers. Not really sure why CRK are doing this. They seem insistent on using the Teflon washers, whether they have the IKBS or not. And I've mentioned this before. I've almost pleaded to CRKT to please don't use the Teflon washers. Please replace it with phosphor bronze, or in the case of IKBS, why use both? It is quite puzzling, but again, that's the decision that they've taken. Just spotted something I didn't mention. We've got the smallest little lanyard hole drilled into that stainless steel at the back. So if you do want to attach a lanyard, make sure it's made of something pretty thin, because that is really not very big, the space created there. Right, guys, let me open the knife and quickly do what I always do around this stage of my reviews, and that is just give my gratitude to Blades and Triggers. Once again, a knife that does come from Blades and Triggers. Appreciate their ongoing support of the channel. So check this and other CRKT knives and other brands of knives and other goodies, tactical goodies out on their website, and that is BNT Online. Right, so size comparisons. Let me start with that knife that I've brought on a few times now, and that is the CRKT Avant, a knife that really did appeal to me, and that is why it is in the collection. Good value, good looking knife, nice action. Of the two knives, I do still actually prefer this, but I suppose if you want the more tactical look, there you go. You've got an option of a similar looking knife, a little bit bigger, a little bit beefier, but very similar in sort of shape. And I might as well bring the other Eric Ochs knife out that I do own, a knife that I did like, and because of the price and so on, I did grab, and that is the Shahalem. So let's get the little Ochs family on screen on the edge. There we go. The Shahalem, the Avant, and the Avant-Tac. 3 different takes on EDC knives and different sizes of EDC knives from Eric Ochs. Right, let's get those out of the way and then use the other knives that I normally do use for size comparisons. So the first one up will be this, the Spyderco PM3, the smaller version. Give you some sense of scale on that. Right, and then this one, another CRKT, the Manix 2, and those are very, very similarly sized knives. The perspective always messes with the sizing. Let's do it that way around as well, and those might be actually pretty much the same in terms of weight, so give you some sense of that. And then what else? The knife that I always do use, and I always do say I use because it has been out for so long, and if you like knives, you will have encountered that knife, so it should be familiar to you, and that is the Benchmade Mini Barrage. Give you some scale there as well. Great. So summarize my thoughts on the knife. So Nice knife, solid, feels very, very good in hand. I think a handsome knife. Between the two, I do prefer this knife a little bit smaller. I prefer the blade shape in general on the Avant. But if you are looking for something a little bit bigger, more utilitarian, as I said, more tactical, maybe pretty shiny blade for a tactical knife, but nevertheless, it is a goodie. You know, if you're looking for a budget knife that feels like a good user, and this is the sort of size that you're looking for. The downsides for me, this knife, general fit and finish, pretty good. The blade centering on this specific one, very good. Action nice. Oh, I didn't really speak about the action on the knife. So we've got the couple of ways to deploy the blade I mentioned. So we've got the flipper, and the blade really does fly out beautifully on that. And then with that hole, you can do a really nice middle finger flick on the knife. That works very well. And then it goes without saying that you can do the same. If you know what you're doing, you can do the same with your thumb as well. So, you know, various ways to deploy the blade. So if there's any of those that suit you, you can choose how you do that when you get the knife. And it is a bit of a fidget toy, I suppose, as well. So in general, a goodie. The negative, once again, is that Teflon washer. And I've said it before, and I'll probably always say it. I wish CRKT would get away from those Teflon washers. Really, some really good looking knives, working with great designers, general construction really good, and then yeah, just that. But anyway, that's perhaps just me. There we go. I'll put that down on the show side. And I guess all that really leaves me to do is thank you for joining me. Once again, always really do appreciate it when you do. And would equally appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I release a new video. Because, as I always do say, I really would love you to join me often. And if you did enjoy the review, please do give it a like, a thumbs up. It does help with the algorithms. And other than that, you go well, and God bless.